Hello, yes. Okay, do you hear me? Okay, that's great. All right. Is it okay or should thank you? So, dear people, I'm really, really glad to see you. My name is Dina, and I know some of you. That's really wonderful to join you to become a speaker finally. And I wish you great evening, great emotions. I really hope that my presentation will be useful in some way for you. But I really do believe in your experience, and I hope that we're going to share some things which we already know with each other. Thank you very much. So my topic will be divided into two parts. The first one will be more theoretical and the second part will be more practical. Today we're going to speak about exercises and games types and some tips to make every lesson really unforgettable, really special, and in our way. So, firstly, I'd like to tell you that the most important thing we should remember in our lessons that we're thinking about the result. The result is, of course, speaking. Our students should speak and should speak fluently about different topics, should speak with modern English, not as I remember one of our teachers used to say, Charles Dickens English. So, and that's why we should remember that it's very important to meet definite criteria. But firstly, let's deal with types of exercises. So while thinking and looking for material, I found out that there are lots of different types of exercises, different types of criteria, but I think one of the most appropriate one is looking at the way of perception the information. So that's why I divided and used such a criteria which is based on uh, reception, reproduction, and production. So you see on the second slide that types of exercises can be divided into receptive ones when we receive, when we get some information, and here we can of course speak about listening and reading. When we reproduce something, which is more common for phonetics exercises and different grammar exercises. Receptive and reproductive, when we have to do both activities at the same time, and productive, my most favorite one, when we have to produce real speech, real text, and other stuff. So firstly, let's speak about receptive exercises. So as I told you, they are mostly divided into reading and listening. Let's deal with listening firstly because it's much easier, and I really like that types of listening exercises absolutely match types of exam exercises common for языка, for уроке, for our state Russian exams on the one hand and international exams on the other hand. And you can see here that most commonly people ask students to look for the main idea, for details, for sequences, for specific vocabulary, for cultural interest, and for attitudes and opinions, or even for functional language. Functional language are specific words, specific phrases which we use in this or that situations. But uh, you can see here that when our students practice such kind of exercises, it gets really useful because in our everyday life we have to do the same. When we listen to our bosses, when we speak with our colleagues, we look for the main idea and sometimes we look for details. That's why if your students ask what we do it for, we can really explain that these exercises are practical in all senses. It's not only about language, it's all about real life at the same time. And as for books. There are really lots of books which I would like to recommend you for additional listening practice. For example, it can be so test your listening or additional testing. I'm going to present them a bit later. So as for reading is divided in more parts, and the first criteria which we can divide reading exercises is, of course, oral exercises and so-called silent exercises. Oral exercises are wonderful for our phonetics, for practicing and hearing ourselves. I'm sure you know, in Russian state exam, graduation exam, students have to pass oral exam. They have to read about 1 minute, 1 minute and a half, a short text, but they have to make 4 or 5 mistakes maximum. If they do something more, they don't get a point. And nowadays, we have to prepare students for reading as well. And as for silent exercises, they're divided into 2 big groups, into intensive exercises and extensive exercises. Intensive exercises, on their other hand, can be divided into linguistic and content. Speaking with simpler, with not such terms, I can tell you that intensive exercises deal with the text itself. We work with the text, we analyze structures, we work with the structure. So, and in this slide, you can see what intensive reading types of exercises mostly deal with. They look at the main idea versus details. They make understanding of what is implied versus what is stated. They identify words that connect one idea and to another. In this kind of exercises, we work with the text, we work with the words themselves, with the materials. As for extensive reading types, if I go back just a second, so they can be subdivided into scanning, and global, general. For me, it was something new to find global, general type of reading, but if we think about it, and we will speak about it a bit later, it is really logical. But firstly, skimming. So, skimming, as I'm sure you know, I'm sorry, just going back. Just a bit mixture of my slides. So, skimming and scanning activities. We use skimming and scanning mostly when we speak about exams preparation. These are 2 main tactics which we employ for international exams. What is skimming? In simple words, it's just getting the main ideas, understanding, and first of all, it is understanding the structure of a text. You know, students in exams are really limited in their preparation. They are given just one big text, and they have only 20 minutes to read it through, to answer, and to make up 3 exercises, for example. That's why skimming is the first step in reaching all the goals. So, skimming is used for understanding the structure. It is used for understanding the overall meaning of the text without reading every single word. Students should firstly perceive the information and only then look for some precise details. It's really impractical to make students go into every single word. because it will take a lot of time, and it's really impossible to know everything. Even we, with our great practice, can absolutely say that there are some problematic words which we endlessly meet in our everyday practice. So skimming also is used as a part of something unknown to me before. It is called SQRR method of reading. It is survey, questioning, reading, reviewing, and reciting. And skimming here is used for the initial survey and for review. This is a kind of new approach to reading, which can be used in making different projects, in making group projects. So as for scanning is used as a second step in dealing with big texts. And I have to pay attention that we use scanning for texts which are about 800 words, 1,000 words or more. And scanning we use for looking for specific information, for looking for some specific word combinations, constructions, and so on. And for, of course, specific numbers and dates. So we also use scanning for matching titles and paragraphs. It is also very important not to skim because in this way, but to scan, because students can get mixed up with some ideas and they can really skip something. As for true, false, not given exercises, scanning is also essential way of dealing with such tasks. And of course, scanning is a great way to practice, to use for practice for competition activities as well, because students get interested. And if you divide a class into some groups and give them some text and make them answer several questions in a short period of time, they have to scan for the information on the one hand, because it will be impossible to deal with only skimming. But at the same time, they are practicing their their speed, and the more they read, the more they practice scanning, the better it is. Nowadays, when we get so much information all over the internet, all over the different resources, scanning is another word for vertical reading, and it is very important to practice this skill. So if I speak too fast, or I don't know, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask and to say. So, and we move on. And I'd like to tell you that as for extensive reading, which I mentioned, or which I'm talking about, which involves skimming, scanning, and global activities, they can be of great practice in such way when we combine, for example, reading and speaking. Students can read some information and then speak about it. They can retell something. Actually, reading and writing is the activity when students have to retell what they spoke about. But the most important part is a graded reading. Uh, in my opinion, it's really useful to integrate reading from the very early stages of learning a language, because when you start learning the language at the age of 8 or 9, as it happens nowadays, and it's really necessary to see your progress. It shouldn't be like it was in our times. We learned English 10 years and had really limited results. No, nowadays we have to do to reach big results, and that's why reading, in my opinion, is one of the most useful practices. And there are a lot of adapted books starting from the stage of 1 to the stage of 6, as far as I remember, and they are targeted to different vocabularies and to different people and their levels. So it's also very good practice to have a reading journal where students can retell the text write down some quotes, write down things they really like about the book. As for exam preparation, in my opinion, it's also very, very important to read a lot of English books, a lot of English newspapers. Even if students don't understand every single word, we have to explain to them that they get into the structures. These structures get inside our subconscious, and finally we see the result. And as you know, the result of reading is always positive. And right now, I'd like to tell you about the productive type of exercises. That's all for perception. Now let's speak about something more interesting. This is a productive type. So, speaking and writing are productive types, as I told you. So speaking can be subdivided into its turn, into individual speaking, in one-to-one, one-on-one speaking, small group, and full class discussions. And as for writing, we're going to return to it a bit later. Let's speak about individual speaking. So my favorite types of them, my favorite exercises is, of course, spontaneous speaking. Spontaneous speaking can be made in different forms. Students get different cards, pre-made cards. For example, these ones, starting from the easy ones, telling about their favorite days, favorite food, favorite places, favorite books, or favorite movies. It can be all very easy. Students can start the spontaneous speaking from 30 seconds, from 1 minute, and it's going to be more interesting after some period of time when they have to answer some unusual questions using more complicated vocabulary, which are given, for example, in the fourth column. If I were a teacher, if I were an animal, if I were president, if I won $1 million, and so on. So, telling about my practice, I remember one of my first students who was about 8 years ago. Our lessons were about 8 years ago, and she was really difficult for me, to be honest. She was just 9 years old at that time, and she really had a small practice and a small progress. And we started, but no progress. But then I brought spontaneous speaking part and told her, Indira, you have to speak spontaneously. You have 3 cards today, and you have to speak 2 minutes about every topic. And after the third lesson, I was really astonished. Believe me, this exercise just moves mountains, really. She started speaking. She started speaking English. She started telling about her family, hobbies. And what I was surprised at, she was using more and more complicated constructions. She was taking the same cards after some time, but she was telling something new, something deeper, and at the same time speaking not just my name is, but just lots of different constructions and words. That's why I recommend this exercise with all my heart. But I understand that from some time it's getting more and more boring. Probably if you practice it, I don't know, 1 month or something or more, you want to make it more interesting. That's why I'd like to tell you about spontaneous speaking integrated. Spontaneous speaking integrated can be used with special cards when you give at the same time not only card with some topics which students should choose, but also they should choose the time limit. For example, they have to speak 1 minute, 2 minutes, or for example, they have to ask 2-3 questions to a partner, or they have to answer 2 questions from different partners. And it can be one variant. Variant number 3, another variant is when students get not only the topic itself, but they have to use some fixed phrases. here I give simple examples with just 3 variants, 3 words in my. So here the video is okay, I see. So, and they have to speak the same 1-2 minutes, but use these words, these constructions. And it really gets very funny, especially when you work with adults and they're my targeted group, when they have to answer, do you like, was a question just some weeks ago, do you like traveling? And the person who walks, he is quite a reserved man, had to answer using about 5 fixed phrases, and it was very funny when he started. The point is, and so on and so forth. Or the same, it was very funny when they had to ask, so they had to answer, have you ever visited Portugal? And it really gets really funny. So please practice it and you will see the result. The same can be done with some other topics. You can always upload topics. You can always use some fixed vocabulary which you study, and they have to integrate not just some collocations, not just linking words, but also something from targeted vocabulary. So, and just a second. So this is for spontaneous speaking. As for presentations and speeches, presentations and speeches, in my opinion, it's also important skill not only for exams, not only for learning a language, but also for a life. And we remember that we not only teachers, we always are people who guide our students to a real life. And that's why let's open the world of presentations to them in our lessons. As for presentations, I really think that it's necessary to use some innovative approaches, innovative ideas. And that's why I really think that they have to speak not just about the climate, which is really changing, but I think it's getting quite boring nowadays. They can use such ideas as making weekly news projects. They can report about the topic they choose. For example, it shouldn't be only about politics if we speak about adults. It can be fashion, it can be in industry, it can be high tech. People are really crazy about a lot of different things. Uh, People also can make really great presentations when they speak about their photos, favorite photos. We really do live in the era of Instagram. That's why sometimes I'm really surprised that some of my students not only like photos, they like photos which match some color, same color patterns, and that's why they can speak about it non-stop. And I'm sure that your students can also find some great photos of the day which they like, which they can take, and you will see how much they speak about things they really like and see. So at the same time, you can also promote students to speak about some personal experiences, but in the form of a tweet. So yeah, it can be just 140, 160 characters, and at the same time, you will see that people speak about different things in some, yes, in some patterns, but they do speak and they do express their thoughts, and this is our target. So at the same time, it's very interesting idea to ask them make some video coverages of their days, of their experience, and they do the same speaking, but they do it before they do it in their real life. They describe their houses, they describe their families, they make some research and it is getting all in real life way. At the same time, there are really a lot of DIY projects nowadays in the internet, and if you ask your students to show how to play, for example, the same spinner or some other activities, I'm sure you'll be really surprised that students will really like to make the video and explain how to do it in English. Why not? And uh, it is more about writing notes, speaking of course, but once I also had used to have a group with one of my groups of adults. It was a WhatsApp group, and their students wrote three main events of their day, and it was quite interesting. They pointed some special moments, some special pieces, some special um, laughs, and some special moments. And people express their thoughts and they do it in English. And that's another idea for our real English life. So let me go back. So another type of speaking is expressing opinion. Mm, in our first seminar, Елена Alexandrovna told that we are teachers and we are not the people who should dominate in lessons, and I totally agree with this point because students should be at the center. They should be the kings. This is their time, and they should really enjoy the time. And feel free to ask their opinion about anything. It can be current affairs. It can be um, just latest news. It can be some trends. It can be some social net activities, but if you ask about their opinion, you will see how open they get and how much they want to speak. They will always speak about their um, real life, their everyday life, and mm, for these purposes, I use spontaneous speaking questions at the same time, which are really often used in um, some interviews, in job interviews. These questions are actually taken from the job interview of an international airport airplane company. It is um, Emirates or something like this. And here you see some creative questions. What is behind the stars? I don't know. What is the most difficult in life? What will you do on this weekend? What is unique about you? If you ask questions like this, people start opening their hearts, their soul to you, and they get free. They get free to express their thoughts, and they feel respected. They understand that their opinion is worth of something, and for our current teenagers it is very, very important, because on the one hand they are surrounded by lots of people and lots of gadgets. On the other hand, they feel really lonely sometimes. So, and such questions, um, they make you create comfortable atmosphere, and the moment when students feel and feel psychologically respected, they start, they are not afraid to speak English. They start speaking it much fluently, and there are no barriers between you and between your students anymore. At the same time, if you speak about a class, when classmates hear each other in real life, they start being closer to each other. They see each other in a different way, and they see each other as different, absolutely different people. So I really ask you to use such psychological tricks, and it will be helpful with any group of people or with any age of people as well. So let's move on. Another thing is describing pictures and describing graphs. Uh, as for describing pictures, of course, you can say that in our real life, it's not very necessary skill, and I will totally agree with you, but our, again, state exams make us think that it's a very important skill, and we have to agree with it. As for describing the graph, this skill is asked during international exams, and I really believe that this skill is much more useful. As for describing pictures, you can always find a lot of interesting pictures in the internet, and you can start integrating these activities from the early ages, and I'd like to show you how to do it. If we speak about the topic of food, of course you can bring a lot of pictures of food, and they tell you that this is a peach, this is an apple, if we speak about an elementary level students. But we can also use different pictures which show, for example, current situations and food basket of people in different countries. For example, what do you think? What country is it? This is a food ratio of one day of the countries. No, Regina, it's not us. It's very close to Germany. A bit further, a bit different direction. Actually, it is Sweden. Yeah, right you are. That's fantastic. Great. So, and this is the food people eat during 1 week. And if even elementary student tells you that they eat Mars, they eat some fruits, they already speak. The other exercise, you can ask them guess how much it all costs. What do you think? What is the cost of this food? It's a bit more. Yes, it's real pictures, even more. It's not a bit more, it's more. Actually, it's not my photos, it's real life photos, yes. It's less, yes. Actually, it is about 700 euros. Yes, something like this. And the next, and you see, at the same time, they say they can already speak about food, they can already speak about money, they can say they eat per week, they eat a week, integrating another word pattern. What about this country? What do you think it is? No, it's not Mexico, but one of your guesses were correct before. Yes, that is the USA. Yes, yeah, Regina, you are right. That's absolutely. What about the price? What do you think? It's less than $1,000. Yeah, they eat a lot of snacks. They eat a lot of ready-made food. It's about $600. Actually, they spend less than in Sweden. Yes. So, and just country number 3. Let's get this one. What do you think it is? No, not New Zealand. Yes, that's it. Cambodia, right here. What about the price? Even less than $100. Yes, that is about $50 actually. you see, in this way, in this actually, I have about 9 photos from different parts of the world. It was a very interesting project, in my opinion, which helps us see how different we are. And I haven't taken, I haven't inserted the photo of food where people just spend about $3 per week and they eat just beans and there is just fresh water and that is all. And it was some country, of course, in Africa. But this way, um, people, we can show our students how different our lives is, and we can promote them and make them, help them understand how important it is to respect what we have on the other hand, and on the other hand to see what, that it's worth traveling and seeing real life in different places. So this is the way to describe picture. Just I tell you, use real life pictures, not just something artificial, not just places such as Red Kremlin. Of course, I respect Red Kremlin, but I don't think it's necessary to describe it 5-7 years all during all our studying in school. So as for graphs, you're going to have a wonderful presentation um, next time when Isolde Nathan is going to tell you about international exams. I'm sure she's going to speak about um, describing graphs thoroughly. That's why I'm not going there right now. Let's move on. First, so retelling information. Retelling information is and can be used as an integrated exercise when we integrate it together with reading. For example, when we just make students um, look, watch, see something, listen to something, and retell it. It's, in my opinion, it's very practical and useful to understand how much people get in listening, how much they can percept, and how much they can retell, because it's also a practical way of seeing the world and using it in real time life. So for one-to-one speaking, one speaking, as it's written here, of course, the first way is making dialogues. Um, it can be made in different forms. You can give students just a topic. You can ask them to discuss something, or you can do it in other forms. I'm sure you know it very well, but I'd like to speak about more precise details. So for problem solving, it's very easy to give students some typical problem which can be taken from some reading text, and they can use it and speak about it. They should use not just individual speaking. They have to know how to make informed questions, and they have to use it and practice as much as possible. Role play is another type of exercise. It's very useful to integrate it, because when people imagine that they live a different life, they get rid of some limitations probably in their behavior, and they feel free to act as if they're someone different. And another type is hard activities. I'd like to tell you that, in my opinion, hard activities is of much and great help in elementary and pre-intermediate level of learning English. Because I'd like to show you an example. They can be made in some dialect cards. You can always start, for example, in studying present perfect, past simple, asking people to compare these two uh, tenses, and when they make and form 4 dialects where they have to make up have you ever experienced questions, or just some have you questions, and then make up 3 additional questions, they remember it much more easier. And the more they practice, the better it is. This is actually a worksheet just for one student, and one student covers 4 dialects, asks 4 questions, then the other student does the same. As for experience present perfect questions, it's very, very interesting to play different games with have you ever think. I'm sure you know this game, which is which is called I have never ever, when students have to use their 10 fingers. Yes, and for example, I tell the first sentence. I have never ever worked in a shop. And if someone of you has done it, uh, you have to just put away one of your fingers. And uh, if another person starts, I have never ever jumped with a parachute. And if someone has done it, you do the same. So at this at the end of the game, one person will be without any fingers, so-called, and this is the person who had the greatest experience. This is another way to practice present perfect in speech. So, and dialect cards when the students actually speak, and I repeat, they use past simple additional questions. It is also of great help to practice the language. So, and I tell you one more about one exercise which is called integrated, which can be called integrated reading and writing, reading and speaking, sorry. It is called the Divo dictionary. I think that one of the most useful way to upgrade our language knowledge is to make up definitions. But from some time it gets really boring, because students understand how easy it is to make a definition, and um, you can upgrade this exercise with the Devil's dictionary. Actually, Devil's dictionary is making some funny, some sarcastic definition to something we really know. These are 9 words here, and I'd like to play this game with you. So your task will be to connect the words with the definitions. Please, let's play it right now. So if we put diplomacy as number 1, love number 2, fork number 3, can you match these word definitions, please? Fork number 5, yes. Friendship number 6. To number 7, and beauty 8. Yes, and circle is 9. So we have answers. So 1D, diplomacy is the patriotic art of lying for one's country. Right, you are. Yes. So Regina, for future, the period of time in which our affairs prosper, our friends are true, and our happiness is assured. Right, you are, of course. So, yes, we have lots of different definitions, words. Yes, 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 right, yeah. Yeah, I really like that you guessed all the words. I hope you like the definitions. And let's play this game together. The second part will be to write definitions yourselves. So I'd like to tell you some words. So here, let it be the words So can you describe the word bird, the word pillow, the word bag, and the word table? You can choose the one you like. Pillow, bag, bird, table. Those who spoil the earth the most. Yes, I think you're telling about birds, Regina. I really like it. That's fine. That's great. So, other variants? There are people. What's the word people? Okay. No, it was the word just bird, bag, table, and pillow. Pillow, sorry, not people. Yes, right you are. But I thought you are speaking about birds. So, Zulfiya, Lucy is writing something as well, yes? Just let's wait a bit more. The thing what women can buy endlessly, I totally agree with you. Yes, it's bags. Yes, I'm sure girls would buy more often bags than any sweets if it was more affordable. So another something where our heads rest. Yes, right here. And shoes as well, of course, shoes, bags, all the necessary accessories. Thank you very much. If you try to play this game with your students, I'm sure they will like it as well. And there are a lot of variants of divos dictionaries online, and they give very funny definitions to lots of everyday vocabulary. But I think it's also a great way and a great help to practice some targeted vocabulary which you study with your students, and students will integrate it more easily. So, and we are moving on. Another integration exercise I'd like to speak about where we can combine some creativity and where you can combine speaking as well is called people's facts. So, for example, students get one of such cards. Here, just 1/3 of it, and other students, of course, don't see it. And they have to write down just the name of the pet or the name of the person in the card who has the same color of the hair as you are. They're writing it everything on the whiteboard, on the blackboard, and the other students should guess. They should ask questions. They should so try to guess what is, for example, this Katie means, and probably they will need some time to understand that Kate is the word which this or that person pronounces most often. So let's play it as well. So Regina, I'm asking you to take card, to choose one of these cards, and I'm asking you to write your answers, and we will try to guess which card you are filling in. So Jasmine, yes. Yes, can you write just in the chat, please? So what do you think? Any ideas this word means for Regina? So I think is the person you were sitting with at school? So is it the name of your best friend? Pet. Sophia is asking about the pet. Good, calm. You see, Regina, we see the answers, but it's not easy for us. And when students don't have any tips, any helpers, it's much more difficult. So let's try to guess the name of your favorite cartoon hero. It must be. Yes, probably. Yes, right here, because you look like Jasmine. Yes, that's the reason. That's great. Thank you. And we are moving on. Just let me go back. As for full class discussions, I really ask you to make some really great projects with all your class. We told right now about food in different countries of the world. But if you ask the students to study how much time people spend online or how they actually, their relatives, they themselves spend um, in everyday life, how much time they spend online in everyday life. If you ask them to make statistics, to make it a kind of survey, you will see how resultative it is, because students get involved. They want to know, they see the result, and I'm sure when we see the result of our work, it is the same for students as well. They make a project, they see the project, and they get the feedback. So that is it. As for writing, I found one of the following types of writing subdivisions, which you can see here, written here: descriptive writing, narrative writing, and persuasive writing. These words are a bit scary in my opinion, and I'd like to translate them from English into English. So descriptive, if we speak about expository writing, it's just something which we have to show. Just let me read thorough. So just a second. So yes, it is it can be found in how to do articles. It is actually what we need to explain. This is actually how it works. It is DIY writing. Descriptive writing is when we describe something, when we use metaphors, symbols, and it can be written in different forms, in poems, and so on and so forth. So narrative writing, when we just narrate, tell something. And persuasive writing, it is used in different articles. It is used in different things to describe, to persuade, to make people do something. We persuade them, we do them. But I'd like to ask you a different question. In our real life, we need writing letters and writing some essays, opinions. What do you think about essays and opinions? Where do they belong to? What group do they belong to? 1, 2, 3, 4. Writing letters, writing opinions. It's not narrative. Yes, yeah, it is number 2. We describe something, we tell about our opinion, and it is descriptive writing. What about um? So, what about writing letters? So, any suggestions? So, come on, any suggestions, your ideas? It's not an exam. So, Regina thinks it's persuasive writing, but actually it is a narrative writing. In letters, we just narrate something, we just tell about our everyday thing. It is just subdivision of writing types. So, and I'd like to ask you, do you often practice writing in your lessons, or is it more of homework task? Seldom, yes. So here, I think that writing in its pure way it's not very useful for lessons, and we can use only a kind of integrated writing, but not writing as in its traditional form and traditional way. And for integrated writing, you can use it in different exercises, you can use it in different activities when they have to describe, when they have to just make an advertisement of something. It is then what they can speak and what they describe then. So that is about writing. Um, Actually, our time is finishing right now, and I'd like to ask you about the following thing. Do you have any questions? So, have you got any questions about types of exercises? So, yes, there are a lot of internet sources, and as for food, mm, if you mean food, yes, I will tell Devil's Dictionary. Yes, I'm certainly going to send Regina a link. So, So thank you, Regina, too. And I'd like to tell you that we today covered just a small part of exercises types, and we can speak about it non-stop and about the way of perception as well. But I have another and in that day we're going to speak deeply, deeply about integrating grammar and vocabulary itself in different exercises, forms, and individual lessons. Right now, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you for your attention, for sharing this hour with me, and thank you for being so active. It was very interesting to see the feedback from you. I hope that it was useful. Thank you. So, see you.